We're back, and we're going to talk about overtime, fellas. NHL possibly proposing a new format change. What do you guys think of maybe getting rid of the shootout, going 4-on-4 for 5 minutes, go 3-on-3 for an extra 5 if that doesn't solve anything, and then figure out something else after that, but have like a 10-minute overtime. What do you guys think of the new scenarios possibly being put in?
I hate the shootout, first of all. That's just ridiculous. Whoever came up with that, Russian hockey, I'm not going to point any things, but they're playing Russian hockey with the overtime situation. I like, if they're going to keep the 4-on-4, maybe 10 minutes of it, or I really like the 3-on-3. That would be fun to watch because you got your best skilled guys out there moving the puck around, playing a little pond hockey would be awesome. So 3-on-3 for 5 minutes. And if no one scores, just a tie. No one should get a bonus point.
Well, there's another rule they were also mentioning that possibly that if they do go to a shootout, then they don't have that third point. That's whoever collects those 2 points would
get rid of the
what's
shootout.
What's the point of having it?
I brought this up at a few league meetings. I know the rest of the guys in the Northeastern League just laugh at me. But I said shootouts are like lining up and kicking field goal to determine a winner in football. You talk about a team sport. Every game, we're talking about, our team has to come together. Well, it comes down to one player and a goalie to determine whether or not you're going to win a game. It's a skills competition. It's not hockey. Get rid of it. Get rid of it at all levels of hockey. Get rid of it in the Junior B League. Get rid of it in the AJHL. Just get rid of it. I know they say, the fans love it. Well, let the fans go out in the parking lot and play shinny then.
So I'm just gonna take this into consideration. What you're translating is you don't like it very much.
Don't like it very much. I say 4-on-4, 3-on-3, and if it's done, it's done. Let's go home. It's tied.
Okay. Well, you know what? A lot of people might not like this, depending on what side of the ball you're on, the Blue Jay fans or anything. Jose Bautista. Last week they were mentioning how the Blue Jays could potentially ship him to, say, Philadelphia, get a couple prospects in it because I know they need help out in the outfield. They vehemently denied this, the Jays have, saying we're not trading him. But do you think trading him right now would be a good decision? Like, at this point, he's at that prime where you can get rid of him and get a lot for him, then wait another year or two when his contract's nearly up, and you probably will just get a few picks. Who knows? But what do you guys say?
You can't get rid of him. That's your captain. That's your leader right there. He smashes the long ball.
Home runs aren't their issue.
You want to get rid of Bautista?
Why? You got to do something in Toronto. You got
to give this team at least one more chance.
Pitching's what they need. They don't need long balls. They got plenty of that with great hitters on the team. Encarnacion being another.
Well, go sign someone. There's so many free agents out there this year.
They had so much built up on this team this past year that going into opening day, they were making out to we'll win opening day, we'll probably rattle off 20 wins, and we'll be in the World Series. They were talking all about this, the greatest pitching staff the Blue Jays have ever constructed, and what happened? Huge dud. They have to blow this thing up. They have to start making deals. They have
Johnson's
to bring in
already
players.
out. He's looking for an NL team.
They have no pitching, really. They don't have, their starting rotation was by far one of the worst in the American League. So they have to bring guys in, and if it costs Joey Bats getting out of Toronto, so be it. They have to bring some pitching in because the only way you win is by on the mound.
Guys, controversial win for Georges St-Pierre over the weekend. If his face was telling a story, it'd tell him that he lost, but apparently they gave him a decision for the W. Is this the last time? Now, I know he's got some personal issues that he's dealing with. Is this the last time we've seen GSP in the octagon ring at this point or forever?
I think he's done. Just the way he was sounding. He didn't want to announce his retirement. I think he almost wanted to lose just so it would make it a lot easier. But I don't think you will see him in the octagon anymore. He might be a coach now, but I don't expect him to see him back in there.
Nevada Athletic Association screwed over the UFC again, and they've done it in boxing. Very controversial decisions in boxing, which turn people off that sport, turn them on the UFC, and now the UFC is questioning Nevada. And that was a horrible decision. He got beat up bad, and yet he gets the decision. I think more or less GSP got that decision because of what he's done in the past, not what he did that night.
Or maybe it was like a sympathy type.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, in that point, I know outside of that fight on Saturday, if you look at GSP overall and what he brings to the sport, do you think that this is a big hole left in the UFC and they have to fill it with someone? Because GSP was big, especially in Canada and growing the sport here north of the border. What do you guys say?
Nah, I think the UFC will be fine. There's so much talent in this sport. Sure, it'll take a hit on ticket sales maybe for a bit, if that, but you got so many great fighters in this sport that.
But as an ambassador, though, maybe great fighters, but as an ambassador in terms of way he represented himself and the sport, he was their poster child, like a flag that you could say, you know what, that's a great role model. That's what the UFC is all about.
But there's other, like Matt said, there's other guys coming up.
So many other people. You still got Anderson Silva for a bit, maybe. There's so many posters.
The only thing that really bothers me about the UFC, back in the day when they first kind of got going a number of years ago, they had selected pay-per-views. It would happen every few months. Now it's happening every second week, and it's coming to the fact that, there's so many pay-per-views that it's getting a little bit watered down to the fact that when you're hyping up these cards, you're hyping up card after card after card, and the hype kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
Quickly, guys, Monday Night Football, Carolina defeating the New England Patriots. A little bit of controversy towards the end. Gronkowski, of course, at the very end of the play, at the back of the end zone, a flag was thrown, thinking that might have been pass interference. Once the referees got together, they decided to pick up the flag and say it was clean. A lot of upset people, especially Tom Brady, giving it to the referees. Guys, if you look at the play, does he look like that Gronk was interfered with, was held up? I personally think the ball was underthrown, and therefore that's why they kind of picked up the flag.
I'd say at least a 5-yard holding penalty on that one. He's trying to get back to the ball, and the guy's just smothering him like a blanket. At least a holding penalty.
They teach defensive backs that if the ball's in the air, you got to turn to face that ball. If you're facing it, the receiver, that's interference. He basically tackled him in the back of the end zone. Now, what they question whether or not that ball was underthrown, and it didn't matter if that defender was in front of Gronk.
Because it looked like it was 4 yards in front of him.
But
I don't
still,
know
he
if
couldn't
could have got to
But
it.
he couldn't
There was
come back
another-
and try to break it up even.
No, I didn't think so. I thought that the ball was underthrown. You saw the secondary from the Carolina Panthers. That could have been an issue. It was iffy. I'll give you guys that. But I personally think that ball was underthrown. That's why they picked up the flag.
I think that ball was thrown on a rope and it would have got there, but he was held.
But you can't defend like that and not get a flag. That's horrendous.
So they got a break, you're saying?
They got a huge break.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens to New England next week because they face the Denver Broncos, and that should be a great matchup. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we have over-under.